Hey everyone, it's Abby. Well, today is Halloween, so I thought I'd work on something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time. I fell in love with the movie Practical Magic when I was a kid. I prefer Sally Owens, but with my red hair, I think Gillian Owens kind of makes a little more sense.
Wasn't me. Well, it was you.
I've always loved the green velvet short dress that she wears partway through the movie, so I finally decided to make it. I'm starting with a dress I found on Poshmark that looks similar to the burnout velvet of the skirt part. I had leftover olive green velvet from my Ever After dress, and I bought a few lace and ribbon bits and added in some hooks and eyes. So let's take a look at making the dress. I start with trying on the Poshmark dress to see where it sits. It's a bit short, so I figure out where I want to cut it to add the olive green bodice. I placed a pin where I want the waist to go. I cut the shoulders apart. I placed the pins where I needed to cut to leave the lining for the bodice and cut with 1/2 inch seam allowance. I replicate that on the other side by folding, lining it up, and cutting. I line up the backs and just eyeball the straight across cut. I seam rip all along the top to separate the lining from the bodice part. Once that's done, I cut a 1/2 inch from the pinned waist part, 2 inches just along the outer fabric, leaving the lining intact. I fold a piece of the olive green velvet in half and cut a straight bottom line. I'm happy the fabric has a little stretch. It will make the fit a bit easier. I placed the piece lined up under the back lining. I cut around the lining following the curve exactly, then I add seam allowance to the back. I cut the middle to the correct seam allowance as well. I lay that piece nape to nape and cut the other back piece out. I lay the front lining over the top of the olive velvet and cut around the piece. I need a slightly different front, so I cut a bit different neckline and make sure I have a seam allowance down the front. I lay that piece on the fabric and cut a second one out. I pin the side seams together to prepare to sew it up. I machine sew the side seams up using a straight stitch. There is no stretch up and down. I create a dart for right under the bust area about halfway into the front and sew that up. I change my machine to the 3-step zigzag and sew all along the waistline where I pinned the new bodice to the waistline. I fold the center under and pin in place at a 1/2 inch. I also fold the top down by 1/2 inch. You can see I folded and pinned all the rest of the top seam down. I will be hand sewing that in place. I cut a few clips into the curves and cut off a bit of extra fabric where needed. I hand whip stitched the velvet fabric on the inside. I folded the lining down and pinned it to the inside of the velvet bodice. I hand whip stitched the lining in place. I didn't film it, but I cut in place green velvet ribbon as the straps. I hand sewed them in place. I hand sewed hooks and eyes along the whole front of the bodice. I actually started sewing on bright lime green ribbon as the trim and realized it just didn't work, so I had to seam rip that off. I bought some mint green cotton beading lace, which turned out to be a much better match. I cut the cotton ribbon in lengths to place on the front and doubled up on the top along the neckline. It will go along the back top as well. I later realized I needed to account for the stretch, so I used these ones for the slightly smaller back later. I tried it on and pinned the lace stretched to the right level. I need a third layer on the top to bead the green velvet ribbon through. I hand sew the lace onto the neckline, stretching a bit as I go. I hand sewed a second layer of lace right below the first on the front neckline. I placed and sewed the beaded ribbon lace in the middle on top of the other two lace pieces. Off camera, I had sewn the one layer of cotton lace down the front of the bodice along the hook and eye section. I did the same top section lace pieces on the back. And there we go! I have the dress from Practical Magic that I've been wanting for so long. I feel very magical. Thank you for joining me today as I modified an old dress to become a practical magic witch. I've always loved all the outfits in that movie, and I mean, who wouldn't want to be the ants when you're old and have midnight margaritas and chocolate for breakfast? This will be a bit cold for a Halloween costume, but I'm sure I'll find a reason to wear it as a costume or as just a summer dress. If you liked this video and want to see more costume and sewing videos, remember to subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Have fun sewing, and happy Halloween! What is this? I bet you would want midnight margaritas. But alcohol is bad for you, so none for you. Happy Halloween!